Yeah. Man,
Hi.
that's a great intro. I wonder
That is
who
a
did that
wonderful.
intro.
That is the greatest thing ever.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Hey, if you want to know who made the intro, contact me. I'll hook you up with
Sure.
the person.
I can't get. Oh, there we go.
There you go.
Yeah.
Everything's backwards on this thing. Yeah,
It
Is it back?
is.
Is it back?
it's like I go
Yeah.
like this,
Anyhow,
and I'm pointing outside.
Wait, no, it's
so,
that
so
way.
here's a great story. I had a busy day today. Had things to do. Had
Yeah.
running around to do, and I had my list, and I was all happy about that list. And then I go off, and I had an appointment. I went did that. Come around, come back home. And then I said, "Oh, it's Taco Tuesday." So I went into the Mexican restaurant up the street and got me not a taco, but a big old burrito, and I ate that
Oh, I
thing,
hope
and
they
I
do.
just totally zonked out. And I was sleeping good. And I was like, my alarm went off, said, "Hey, dude, it's time to get up." And so I said, "Yeah, all right, I get up." And then somebody, Ken, rudely reminded me that this is my Arkansas week. And I was like, "No problem. I am prepared." And yeah, you know where my note is? It's at work, right next to my
Oh
computer.
no.
Anyhow, but that's okay. That's okay because I can cram study pretty fast. Uh, the only thing that
It
I
was written on
don't
his
like
hand.
that I'm missing out of this is I had this. It was a neat thing that was put on by a library, and I can't for the life of me find this library uh, now. And it was neat. So all I can tell you is check out if you have a good local library, go to it, check it out. Even the small library's got things to do for people of all ages. So it's
Absolutely.
fantastic. And then if sometimes you have to read. Sometimes I have books with pictures in them. Those are my personal favorite. And but uh, uh, but this one was really kind of cool, and I'm mad because I lost it. But it seems like it's one that goes on, and I will find it and I'll bring it up. But anyhow, I did find some things. If there's a place in Smackover, Arkansas called the Arkansas Museum of Natural Resources that 40 4087 Smackover Highway in Smackover, Arkansas. Apparently, you can find this place, but they
Got
have
smack
things.
smack over
Yeah, right.
there.
Yeah, smack dab and Smackover.
Great name.
Um, but I like it because they have presentation things. If you're interested, you like learning about things, and they have the hands-on history, and I love it because this one they're doing on this Friday on the 3rd is hands-on history of the yo-yos, spinning tops, and jacks. So I guess it's kind of cool, and I found there are other things later on. I guess they do it like every other week, so it's pretty cool. But that this Friday is going to be covered up, and well, no, that's Thursday, the 3rd. The Friday is the 4th of July, and if you don't know what to do on the 4th of July, I don't know what to tell you. Look up
Google
because
4th of
there's going to be
July.
stuff.
Celebrate.
Celebrate. Hey, and
Celebrate.
definitely celebrate. It don't matter what your political ideology is. It doesn't matter what's going on. You're in America. You love America. Celebrate it because it's the greatest country in the world.
Yes, it is.
100%. Don't
And
lose
we're
any
not
sleep.
biased just because we're veterans, okay?
I, I'm a, I love this place. But as an X-ray tech, I want you not to go to the emergency room.
Oh,
So don't
no.
blow your fingers off, please. Uh,
Please don't.
Please. Uh, anyhow, continuing on the 8th, actually the 8th and and well, we have the fifth, we have the the eighth, we have the 11th, we have it's all over the place at the Ron Robinson Theater in Little Rock.
Busy.
They have movies, but like they just had the Wolfman. They have Independence Day, which is kind of just a fun movie. Terror Tuesday, Creep Show, that's on the 8th. They just have a lot of movies, so it's kind of cool to go see these old movies and go sit down with other people, and enjoy them on a big screen. So that'd be kind of fun. But uh, they have Tina's one of Tina's favorite movies and mine, The Thing, on
Oh yeah.
the 26th. So that's
Nice.
kind of fun. I like that kind of stuff. Uh, you know, but if you're looking for something to do, it's kind of cool. Uh, and if you're into sports, there's a lot of sports around here, but it's usually college level type of stuff. Well, they have arena football here in Arkansas as well, and that's kind of fun. Have you ever seen an arena game? Arena football?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yep.
Yes.
We have an
It's
arena
kind of
team
it's
here.
just
Go
so
sport.
yeah, it's just fun. It's high energy. I like it. But the Wise Guys versus the St. Joe Goats. I don't know where the St. Joe Goats are from, but I think it could be from someplace in St. Joe. I don't know.
Missouri.
But that Bank of the Ozarks Arena, it's on the 19th. That's just fun stuff. And something that just sounds like a good time. The Cave City, it's in Cave City, Arkansas, by the way. Cave City Watermelon Festival on the 24th through the 26th. And I don't know, ever since it's on the watermelon crawl, I've kind of been interested in watermelon festivals. I don't think you're going to do the watermelon crawl here, but they have all kinds of events all weekend long, vendors, food trucks. They have a lot of live music. Uh, just a wiffle ball home run derby. So that sounds like uh, I don't know. That sounds like an injury to me. Anyhow, you guys are no fun. I'm trying to jump this on you. Yeah,
I'm
but
laughing. I'm
there's a melon
smiling.
dash, yeah, but and a watermelon parade. So I don't understand what the watermelon parade is, but I'm kind of interested in finding what that is. Now, so they're gonna have a car show, a dog show, different things like that. So it's just like a full on all weekend long good times in Cave City. So
And apparently, it won't be
yay!
seedy. It won't be seedy, right? There you go.
Well, I like
Probably,
watermelon.
probably seat spitting one. They probably have that contest. They have those at
That would be
a lot of fairs, and they
yeah,
usually aim at somebody.
ew, that's mean. I would never.
My kids did to me. Vacation.
But I did all right.
You did
We're
great.
actually, and
I was
we're
able to read. I was able
having
to read my writing too, and I wasn't too sure about that because my writing's kind of sketch, anyways. If I take my time, and
Okay.
this one I had to work with typed out.
Awesome.
nice.
What?
Pam, what you
There's,
got?
Anyway,
there's one thing going on this weekend too for Kansas that I'll throw in there. Bordertown Crew, we're headed up the 4th actually for Geneseo's Kansas World UFO Day, which is Saturday. And so me, Jess, Mark, and Enzo are going to be there, and Scotty are going to be there doing
Oh, sweet.
presentations and stuff. Yeah, it'll be fun.
Awesome.
Doing
nice.
our things at 11, and then we're doing a Q&A at 3, I believe. But it's
Awesome.
fun. They have parades and all kinds of stuff. So
Parades.
yeah,
Yeah, they hover above the ground, and
No,
it's cute. They have
but
this very small town, and they do a whole little parade
other
and stuff.
small UFOs.
and they're saying it's just
Exactly.
going to be so hot.
Hot.
It's about this time. It's about this time of year that I want to move to someplace cooler.
Yeah, for sure.
I, I
Yeah, where it stays like
But
70
but
degrees
apparently
during the
there's no place
summertime.
cool in the United States now, right now, apparently
Not
where
right
No,
now.
so
there's not.
so what do we got? Who do we got? We have a
We,
guest. We actually have a guest this week, so that
we
that helps.
and thank you, guests, for coming tonight.
Yes, for
Yeah,
I
coming
shouldn't
yeah.
say
on
for showing
Said
up, but
tonight.
for coming tonight.
She said thank you, guest, because they're afraid of they don't like my bag. Anyhow, I like my
Oh,
bag. I think it's funny.
we
I
talked
spent a
about that
lot
a
of
while
money on
ago.
that bag.
Uh,
Hey,
10
time
cent,
is money.
10 cents
I
a
As
work
moldy,
I work
right?
hard. I
as
work
the
hard
ghost
on that
brothers
thing.
say, time is money.
Well, our guest tonight has 25 years of ghost tour experience, and also not only just local tours, but uh, travel type tours. She's been in 10 states, Ireland, Scotland. She's instructed ghost hunting classes for over 20 years at various locations. She's an author, columnist. She's worked on several TV shows, and she's been a speaker at the Mothman Festival, the
Ooh,
Frogman Festival, which we got to find out about, the Flatwoods
Frogman.
Green Monster Festival, which we got to find out about that too, and the Haunted America Festival, which I know about. I would like to introduce Sherry Brake and welcome to the show.
Yeah, she is.
Thank
Hi.
you, guys. Wow, that's a hard act to follow.
Okay. See ya.
Do you know this person?
No, what was that comedian from like black and white film days that said, that big guy, he always said, I don't follow cute kids or cute dogs.
That's good
Bro.
advice.
I'm trying to
Well,
remember. Yeah, you
can't.
got real funny. It'll come to me.
Well, first thing I
That's a Google
thought of was
question.
Fat Albert, but okay.
No, it was before that.
Not that far back.
I'm showing my age. Yeah, it was before that. Black and white movies, but it'll come to me. It'll come to
Black
me.
and
I'll
white
have to-
movies.
I'll have to
Laurel
Google,
and Hardy.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me on your show tonight. I appreciate the invite, and I met up with Ken over the weekend in Alton, Illinois for the Haunted America Conference. That was year 28 for this conference that brings together
Wow.
thousands of people from all over with like-minded interests, everything from the paranormal to cryptids to metaphysical stuff. I mean, you name it. There's either a workshop on it or a speaker on it. A lot of fun.
We had witches giving us their trade secrets and crystal balls. It was an amazing time over the weekend.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And what goes on behind the scenes stays behind the scenes.
I know nothing.
Does it really?
I know
Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah, I know
So-
nothing. I know nothing.
Absolutely. So Sherry, tell us a little bit about your background. I made up all this stuff, and for doing all this stuff, and you're only in your early 20s, it's like, what the hell? How'd you do it? You
Yeah,
got
right.
Time turner.
I started when I was 2.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
No,
That
no,
makes
no.
more sense.
I'll be 62 this year, and I started into the paranormal in my early 20s with investigating. That was back when it wasn't cool.
Yeah.
You know,
Right?
It's still not
late-
cool.
late
No, well,
Oh.
a lot of people are making it not cool.
the late 1970s and the early 80s, you didn't really tell too many people that you were out there, trying to talk to the dead, because they would automatically, throw that occult word or that supernatural word at you, or even worse, you're a witch, because they just didn't understand it. It wasn't quite in the mainstream like it is today. So today you got all these television shows and whatnot, so everybody's familiar. I mean, you could probably ask a 10-year-old what is an EMF meter, and he's probably going to be able to tell you all about it. When back in the day, number one, EMF meters weren't really used back in the day, but it's so much more mainstream now, and it's so popular. And with the way I came about it is I was just basically a weird child. So early on, I was watching shows like The Twilight Zone, The Outer Limits, The Addams Family, just, quirky stuff. And as soon as I could learn to read, I was going to the school library and pulling out books on the Salem witchcraft trials and ESP and the Egyptian pyramids and all this stuff. And I'm a kid of like 8, 9 years old, and I'm like a sponge. I'm super fascinated with it. And I was always the kid that, if we spent an overnighter somewhere at one of our friends' house, I was the one that started the seance.
Okay.
I was the one
Yeah.
that did that. 'Cause I was like, oh, the light, the parents are in bed, let's go, or we do the light as a feather thing where you'd lift the body up.
Stiff
off
as a
the floor.
board, light as a feather. Stiff as a
Yeah,
Yep, I was there.
Yeah, really dramatic stuff. So from early on, I'm like, wow, I was an entertainer when I was 9, because I'm like, I'll head up the seance. So from early on, I was just really curious about it and continued investigating in my 20s and 30s. And then when I was 39, I started Haunted Heartland Tours, and basically just started off with doing tours in Ohio. So I started off with doing walking tours, combining haunted history, paranormal investigations, folklore, superstitions. And for my very first walking tour, I was a stay-at-home mom. I didn't know if anybody would show up. I charged $10 a person, and I had 30 people who met me on a
Oh, right
street
on.
corner
Wow.
and paid $10 a person. And I don't do math very well, but that's $300 for an hour and a half of me talking.
Yeah, that's cool.
So I started doing 4 of those every weekend, Fridays and Saturdays, and then I started doing 6 of those, 3 on Friday, 3 on Saturday. And then I started renting out locations that were haunted, penitentiaries, sanatoriums, asylums. I started doing bus trips. I've got a haunted Las Vegas. I got a haunted Gettysburg. I do trips to Ireland and Scotland. So yeah, I've kind of come full circle, written books about the locations, I've instructed classes. The Ohio State Reformatory hired me to lead their Ghost Hunting 101 classes, as well as the West Virginia Penitentiary. So I feel very blessed to be able to do what I love, and this is me full time. This
Yeah,
is
that's
something I've been
Nice.
Awesome.
for 25 years. This is my 25th year. So the last couple of years have been a little slow. I'm only doing like 20 events a year, but a long period there, I was doing between 100 and 130 a year.
Wow.
That's bus trips,
That wiped
walking
out though.
tours, 10 days in Ireland, 10 days in Scotland,
Oh my God.
tours out to Area 51, Gettysburg bus trips. There was a lot going on. So I feel very, very privileged and honored to be able to do what I do, because not everybody can make money as a ghost hunter.
That's very true.
Right.
No.
I just lose money.
Yeah.
Same.
I have to have a job. It's terrible.
Yeah. I'm lucky enough now. I
I'm
mean,
still wearing my
I'm a
uniform. So.
Oh yeah, I see that. You hard worker, you. Yeah. So now, I'm a grandma now, and we've got the kids living. We have a farm in West Virginia, and it's fascinating because moving from Ohio to West Virginia, I thought I was in the creepy area of Ohio because we had stuff like Helltown and the Ohio State Reformatory and Prospect Place and Franklin Castle and all these cool things in Ohio. Then I moved down here, wild, wonderful, weird.
Yeah.
To the north, I've got Mothman, or to the west, I've got Mothman, and to the north, I've got Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum and the
What?
Flatwood Green
Oh,
Monster
Trans-Allegheny.
Museum.
Okay.
Yeah, Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum. I've got the Flatwoods Green Monster Museum. I've got the West Virginia Bigfoot Museum. Those are 20 minutes away from me. To the south, I've got Lake Shawnee Amusement Park. And to the east, there's all kinds of weirdness out that way. And then they've got the West Virginia Penitentiary. So I'm in the heart of it here, and I love it.
It's perfect, isn't it?
That's nice.
You're like
Nice.
it's kind of like they say California. You go to the center of the state, you can get to anything in 4 hours. That's kind of what you've got right there, right?
True. We are out in the middle of nowhere, but yet we're 10 minutes from a Walmart.
Yeah.
It's like a
10 minutes.
Walmart
And
every
if you
time.
get-
man.
I passed by 3 Walmarts in 10 minutes.
Do
That's
you
not a
really?
joke.
And if you
Anyhow.
get
Wow.
and if you get bored, you can go out there on the Gauley or the New River too. Correct? Do
Yeah,
some
that's
do
true.
some whitewater rafting. Yeah.
We are about half an hour away from the new, the newest national park in the nation, New River Gorge Park, and we're about 10 minutes away from Summersville Lake, which is the largest lake in the state, but it's also a deadly lake because it's over 300 foot deep and it claims 1 or 2 people a year. So there's a
wow.
dark side to
Don't
the
go there
tourist.
unless you can swim.
Oh.
Yeah,
Wear your
yes.
life jacket.
Yeah, and you got all those under those currents, and there's caves, and there's people that jump off the cliffs, and they rock, they jump off the rocks, and it could be deadly. It's gorgeous, but it can be deadly. So
In a
that's
beautiful state. I've been through it. The only place I stopped really was Point Pleasant, and because my wife is like you, has always been into the creepy stuff. She was the kid who'd check out the creepy books from the library and everything like that. She was I was not, but anyhow, I might have been creepy in a different way. I say that out
Point
loud.
Pleasant's
I think
awesome.
it is. But
You're not wrong.
Point Pleasant is actually I enjoyed that stop so much, and since I'm not
Yes.
really a believer of the place, of the whole crypto.
Hang out with me. Hang out
Wait,
with
wait,
me. Or be a
wait.
believer.
I got quite a story, but I was never really big on the Mothman and all that stuff. And then I got there and I find out that even George uh, wrote about the creature up there, Mr. Washington himself. And I was
Yes,
like,
he did.
oh, so this is going way back. It's not just crazy kids because I
It
read the
goes way
stories that
back.
I read the stories and I'm like, oh, none of this. It's kind of weird to me.
Yes.
But I
Yes.
really enjoyed. I really enjoyed the stop and being there and going to the museum and
Uh-huh.
going out to where all that stuff happened. And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
I spent a lot of money. I got a lot of money in here from the Point Pleasant, the Mothman
The museum.
gift shop because
Yeah.
my wife went crazy.
I'll tell you what, listen. So I started doing tours in Point Pleasant in 2002, a long time ago. I would load up people in Cleveland, Ohio on a bus, and we would drive all the way down to Point Pleasant, which was scary for a
It's a
lot of
drive.
those people anyway, right? We get down there and we would stay at the Low Hotel, which of course it's closed now, but it was like the haunted hotel to stay, built right on the Ohio River. Very grand old building dating back to the early 1900s, right on the riverbanks. So a lot of frontier history here too, with also the Battle of Point Pleasant, which took place in 1774. But when I would bring these people down, they were all the only thing that they were really attracted to was the stories about the Mothman,
Yeah.
because the Mothman prophecies had been on TV. The book Mothman Prophecies by John Keel had been written. That's all they knew. What they did not know about that town was the stories of disaster, the coal mine disasters,
Yeah.
the Ohio River flooding, the dark folklore with the river monsters that were written about back in the frontier days. Thank you. My husband just walked in to get me something cold here. I appreciate it.
Hi,
Aw.
husband.
Hi, husband.
Hi,
Hi,
husband.
husband.
Good.
Perry,
He's really good. Yeah, he
Perry, you're supposed to wave.
oh, he's good. He's been working on the farm. My drink can was frozen, so I'm like, oh, I need something to
Oh
drink.
no.
He told me he
So
was going to at least wave, so he's got to do
I
that.
know he's gone. He's off into the darkness.
Okay.
So
Poof.
Point Pleasant, you bring all these city people down to this little river town, and I always joked. I said Point Pleasant is like Mayberry,
Yeah.
the TV show Mayberry. Andy Griffith
Yeah.
meets the Twilight Zone,
Yeah.
and they get
Interesting.
together and they have a baby, and that would be Point Pleasant.
I like it.
So
I
not
get,
only
I
Wow.
get,
do you have the
I did
cryptids,
get
but
hints of Twilight Zone as I was walking through there. I did get hints of that. It was kind of.
yeah. So, but on top of Mothman, I mean, that didn't start till 1966. But before that, you had the reports of the river monsters. You had the Battle of Point Pleasant, October 10th, 1774. You have Daniel Boone in the area. You have George Washington in the area. You have Chief Cornstalk, who was buried there in Point Pleasant. So you have this fantastic battle that happens, which many scholars believe to be the first battle of the American Revolution, right there in town. So, as you guys know, as paranormal researchers, the more that you layer things on top of each other in a
Oh yeah,
location,
that
so you've
energy
got the
there. Yeah.
river, you've got ley lines, you've got massive casualties with the battle, you have unmarked graves of the soldiers, you have UFO sightings, you've got Men in Black, you've got the Mothman. It's a recipe for paranormal activity.
You
It
have?
really truly is. So I love Point Pleasant, and I do walking tours in Point Pleasant. I've got one coming up August 16th.
Okay.
If anybody
You've
is
got
there.
rolling water there. You've got caves and
Yes,
and
you've got it all.
crystals.
You've got it
See, that's
all.
one of that.
That's
When I
pretty
went
cool.
there
It's a
to
pretty cool
Point
place.
Pleasant, the only thing I knew was that Mothman Prophecy movie, right? And I was like, whatever. And then, I've seen some pictures and stuff like that, and I read some of the stories, and I was like, okay. So I went there, and that's all I was thinking of the place. And then, yeah, as you're walking through and you start reading stuff, and actually, I love the history of this stuff, and I'm like, oh, wow, this is actually really cool, and it goes way back. So I thought that was interesting.
Mhm.
So, yay.
What I
But
found to be interesting was that my grandfather was the leader of the Virginia militia that battled against Chief Cornstalk, and I never knew that until
oh,
just a few years ago. So all these years I'd been taking hundreds of people to Point Pleasant, standing by his 84-foot tall obelisk that has a statue of him at the base of it, and talking about General Andrew Lewis, and I had no idea that I was of his blood. So
oh,
that took
wow.
my course to a whole new level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I'm here, make something happen.
Yeah.
Well,
That's great.
I've been to Point Pleasant, but I didn't. It was by accident because totally by accident. I ended up staying right across the river, the Cumberland. The Cumberland, I think it's called.
Gallipolis.
What was that?
There's Gallipolis, Ohio.
That could be it. Right
Gallipolis.
across the river, or I'm sorry, right across the
Yes.
bridge. And there's a huge hotel there. I stayed there. I thought it was by the Cumberland Gap. I guess that's why I thought it was Cumberland. But anyway, I stayed at this huge hotel right there. I ate breakfast the next morning somewhere in the area, and then I was looking at the map, like, how the heck do I get to Salem, Virginia from here? Because I went the
Oh,
wrong way, and I ended up going through
yeah.
Ohio, which was totally stupid. But anyway,
Live and learn.
long story about that one. But I ended up staying there, and I was wondering if that place was haunted as well. If you would even know what I'm talking about. 'Cause-
Um, well, Point Pleasant is a good distance from Cumberland. So I'm just wondering maybe if Mothman, if you hadn't been alien abducted that night, wink wink.
Could have
oh, you know,
been. You
who
could have been.
knows? I mean, it was like 3 o'clock in the morning when I found the place, and there was only
Yeah.
three people. There's only three people there in about a 500 room place.
Oh, wow.
That's
It
how.
was
Yeah, that almost sounds like the Low Hotel, right on the river.
Yeah, it's right on the river, and it looks
Yeah.
looks about as big as Waverly. It's got
It's
that bend in
yeah.
it. It's
It's
huge.
no, this is a square building, but we'll have to check that out
Well,
later.
anyway, we'll talk about that. But yeah, but
Okay.
you said the Low
Fascinating
Hotel.
town, Point Pleasant is really.
Yeah, actually,
So
it
many
is.
layers to it. So many layers to it. Just so much more. That's why my walking tour is Mothman and more. Is there's just
Yeah.
layer on layer of things to talk about. My cousin, my second cousin, I'm in West Virginia, so your first, second, third, fourth cousin.
Yeah.
My cousin,
Uh-oh.
what was that?
Oh, it's Shauna having some kind of conniption.
Oh, I saw she's not
She-
there anymore. She's
she-
been abducted.
I was ready to say she's been abducted. She gets abducted
Oh
a
my
lot.
gosh. My cousin lived in Cottageville, which is not too awfully far from Point Pleasant. And he said during that whole Mothman frenzy that he was in high school, him and his buddies would all load up in a car and they would go up to Point Pleasant and they would sit on the riverbanks and they would watch the lights fly up and down the river. And he said you could take a flashlight and you could flashlight a pattern and they would duplicate it right back to you from these craft that were hovering. And he said it was the most spectacular thing to see, but everybody was doing it. And if you talk to any of the Mothman witnesses that are still with us today, they all talk about their parents seeing UFOs, grandparents, law enforcement, teachers. It was a crazy time back in 66 and 67.
It's interesting.
Now there's
So
been
you think the
some great-
Mothman's an alien?
Well, yeah, there's some theories, There's some theories that he's multidimensional,
Mhm.
slipping
Like
through.
Bigfoot.
Never heard that term
Dimensions?
before.
Yeah. Some people
With
think that he just shows up if something bad's going to happen.
He's
so
a
there's all
harbinger.
kinds of
Yeah.
theories. Yeah, harbinger stuff.
There's been some recent supposed sightings of him also.
There's-
Chicago, Northern
Yes.
Illinois, Southern
Yes.
Missouri.
There's
Uh,
people that will tell you that the Mothman stopped being sighted in 1967 when the Silver Bridge collapsed into the Ohio River. And there's other people that are like, oh no, they've seen him here, they've seen him there. It's been around the world. So it's one
Yeah.
of those things. It just, people see red
Well,
eyes off in the distance and they just automatically say, oh, we saw Mothman.
I don't know. See, I don't get the red eye thing, but see, I saw a creature, which is why I ended up becoming into the paranormal in the first place. And then what
Really?
I saw is, I saw something in a very well lit area for a good amount of time. So, uh, what I started thinking when looking at the way I described this creature and what I've heard other people describe creatures and the situation that they saw that creature, it was always at night. It was really fast. They were scared,
Red
things
eyes.
like that. And I wasn't scared. And I had a witness. My wife was sitting right next to me in our car. We saw the thing cross in front of us for a good 8 seconds in a well lit area. But I'm thinking to myself, could that been something Mothman? Could that be something Jersey Devil? Could that be something all these different creatures that people have seen, but it's always been really brief at night and they're freaking out. So I don't know. It takes a lot to freak me out. As a matter of fact, I don't think I've ever really been freaked out. I've been booed, boo, yeah, I get that. But I see something amazing, I stop and I try to take it in. And so I wonder if a lot of these creatures are just uh, not necessarily misrepresented. I think are mistaken for, I don't know. They could all be the same thing. And
Mm-hmm.
it makes more sense to me. One creature that's been around, uh, that goes around. I don't think it's one creature; it's probably several, but
Right.
uh, of the same species.
Yeah, yeah, and taking people to Scotland, we've been over there 13 or 14 times taking tours over the Scots, the Highlanders, when it was during the Battle of Culloden in Scotland. There were reports by even some of the officers with the British of this black winged creature that flew across the battlefield before the battle happened. So, I mean, it's been seen in a lot of different countries throughout the ages, whatever it is. It is fascinating. And so is Nessie, on Loch
Yeah.
Ness. We're in Scotland. We rent a boat. We hop on that boat and we go out across Loch Ness and we look for Nessie for about an hour.
See,
And
we want to do that. We're going to be in Iverness next year, about this time next year, and
oh, are you going to
and
Inverness? Good.
oh yeah, and my wife is going to go insane because that is her top creature. It was
Inverness is a
Mothman.
beautiful, beautiful town. It's the
Yeah,
entrance to the Highlands. There's a couple great hotels that we stay out there. There's one called the Columba, which is
yeah,
right on the banks of the River Ness, which is where the monster originated at. And then St. Columba was the one that banished it from the river and it went up to the loch or the lake. So
yeah.
the Columba is a great place to stay, and we stay at the Royal Highlander as well, right
So,
there in
Nice.
downtown Inverness. You're going to have a blast.
so yeah, my wife will
Oh.
definitely. That's a. I think that's the top of her list right now. So then I can I could be a terrible husband
Well,
for
good.
a couple of years. So yeah.
Geez. Well, and listen, if you guys have any travel questions, wanting to know where to stay or where to go or which boat ride to take or whatever, let me know. I'm your
I
man.
will reach out to you definitely.
Yeah.
Do you
And for
do you
$20.
And for $20.
Since I was thinking about your
Awesome.
comment a few minutes ago, since Mothman has supposedly been seen around the world now, do you, and what Adrian said a few minutes ago too, do you think it could potentially be something like the angel of death? That's
Ooh.
just kind of a
Right.
That's
Yeah.
interesting.
seen in different
A lot of
formats.
speculation.
Oh yeah, that's a
A
nice
lot of
just
speculation about it. A lot of theories about it. A lot of theories about Bigfoot and El Chupacabra and
true.
you name it. We don't know for sure. Who knows for sure?
Why the
And
shaking of the head, Adrian?
yeah,
I
well,
because
you know what?
I don't think of angels as being scary looking creatures. They're majestic and they're maybe frightening, but I don't think that they look like a creature.
I don't
But then
know.
again,
There's a lot of
but then
speculation
again,
on that.
you talk about the ones that are up there in the throne room that have eyes all over their bodies and even under their wings.
Yeah,
That would
exactly.
freak me out. And but I think when I think of it, when I think of the angels of death, I don't think you're going to see a skull and red eyes and things like
Right.
that. I don't
Well, I
think
mean, so
it's
many
going to look
people.
familiar.
There were hundreds of sightings in Point Pleasant, and these were some of them were by people who did not want to see something like that, and it
Oh yeah,
affected a lot of them for the rest of their life. Some of them were housewives in the house with their kids, and happened to look out their window and see something sitting on the shed out behind,
Oh
and
my
it's just
god.
it's not
yeah.
dark, but it's dusk, and they see this thing and they're looking. And I remember talking to this one woman. This is creepy. She'd been washing dishes and looked outside, saw this thing up in the tree, and is looking at it, and it's looking at her, and she's just looking at it, not afraid, but she said, I started moving my head, and I'm like looking at it, and it starts to mimic the way I'm moving my head. And she's
Oh.
that's when I kind of like got back in my body, and I'm like, oh my God, let's get out of
Yeah.
here, kind of thing. Because
That's a
That's
shot. That's a
creepy.
shotgun.
you wanna analyze what you're seeing, because this is,
Mhm.
am I really seeing this? But when it started doing this and looking back at her, that
Yeah,
shows
that's
intelligence.
creepy. Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it
Right.
does.
Pretty crazy.
Man,
So, mm,
that's wild.
yeah,
So,
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
so besides Mothman and you're in Scotland, what else have you been up to?
Well, I started 4 more books during COVID. Never start 4 books during a worldwide pandemic. So I lack 2 or 3 chapters in each book. And I have had such a busy couple of years, working on the farm. We put in an Airbnb cabin, traveling, taking care of grandbabies, this and that, that I've kind of pushed those books off into the back. So my goal this year is to get all 4 of those done. And one of the books is on dowsing. I've been
Oh.
a dowser for
Nice.
almost 40 years. 40 years I've been dousing.
It shake too much
Long
for that.
before, yes, saw it on TV. There's so many different applications to be able to use dowsing rods that people have no idea about. So I have a book on dowsing for ghosts and graves is the name of it.
Okay.
So I'm going to be excited to get that wrapped up. And then I have another one that I did called 50 Shades of Spooky, after the 50 Shades series, but this is all true life, behind the scenes, ghost hunts, working with different television crews, things that happen off set, just the funny stuff that goes on when you're trying to get a bunch of investigators together to get a television show filmed or whatever it is. They're traveling with a group of people because there's some pretty hairy situations you can get yourself into. And
Sherri, I want to
police.
say I am so sorry. I have been like all over the place during this show because of these darn
Oh, you're fine.
dogs.
You're fine. Are they okay?
They're chasing the cat.
Right on.
Typical
It
dog stuff.
It happens.
Mom's busy. Let's do everything we can now.
Right? Exactly.
We
Oh
have
my god.
A.M.O.K. all in one square tonight.
Yes. Yes. But I am so sorry. You were talking about your books. You had 4 books.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, yeah. No, I just hope to get those done by the end of the year. I'm always working on tours coming up. I've got a tour next September. It's 10 days and 9 nights in Scotland, and we're all over the place in Edinburgh, Inverness, Orkney, Fort William. We're in castles. We're down underneath the city of Edinburgh in the Edinburgh Vaults. We're in Greyfriars Cemetery. We do the boat ride across Loch Ness. We're doing some whiskey tasting.
ooh.
Whiskey
Oh,
takes.
Ooh.
I'm all
terrible
about that. That works.
Ooh.
I
When is
know.
this?
Yeah,
Right? This
we
sounds
fly
so
out
much fun.
September 1st of
When?
2026. 2026. So
You said
next year.
September?
Did you say
Yes, September of 2026. I like to give people time to make payments
Well,
because, I
yeah,
mean,
because
who
it's not cheap.
really has several $1,000s laying around?
Mhm.
But we have a blast on that
Oh, I have
bus.
my wallet.
And we typically have between 30 and 45 people with us. Some people travel solo, some people come as couples. it's a mixed bag. There's a lot of women that leave their husbands at home and they travel solo because their husband doesn't want to leave, and they're like, this is going to be the trip of a lifetime, and I'm going to pack a suitcase, and I don't know anybody that's going, but I'm going to make some friends. So if it's
Right.
cool to have a lot of people come like that, they make friends, and then they book another tour, and they all gang up together again. So I
Oh
love
yeah, let's
that.
do this together. Yeah. Hey,
So
so you've been here, you've been there, you've done this, you've done that. There's always like one place that everybody likes the most. So what would be
Oh,
your
oh
favorite?
wow.
Your paranormal boo.
In the States, it would have to be, oh, I hate picking because they're like babies. They're like my
Yeah,
babies.
I
Mhm.
know.
Uh, but for substance, and history, I would say the West Virginia Penitentiary in Moundsville.
that's a pretty
Yeah,
cool
Wow.
those are
place.
always fun.
I, yeah, I have been going there 26 years, 25 years with tours. I have probably rented it out 120 times on my own and investigated overnight. I've been on numerous shows in that building. That's been fun. That's always fun to do. But that place to me has the most bang for the buck when it comes to investigating. I love the Ohio State Reformatory. Shawshank Redemption was filmed there.
Been been there,
Glor-
fantastic place.
yeah, glorious castle-like building. I've rented it out dozens and dozens of times. I've led their ghost hunting classes. Um, it's gorgeous. It's beautiful. It looks like a castle, but it was a reformatory. They never really put anybody to death there because you were to be reformed and put back out into society. The West Virginia Penn was on the top 10 list, even more so than Alcatraz, as the most violent facility in all the United States. 998 murders and suicides.
Hmm.
900, that's documented.
Wow. That's crazy.
85 hangings, 9 electrocutions. You feel it. You feel it when you walk into that front area and you see Old Sparky. I mean, it was called Old Sparky. You see the electric chair sitting there, and it gets thick. I mean, I always watch people's faces when we first walk into the building, and I got 45 people with me. And I look around at the newcomers, and of course, I got people that keep coming back. But the new people I look at, and you can just see that unease. And they
Mhm.
start whispering, and they're like, does it feel weird in here to you? This feels
Yeah.
kind of heavy. This feels kind of thick. What are we feeling here? Why does it feel this way? So I love that. So I would say probably the West Virginia Penitentiary.
Yeah, that's a
I'd
pretty
have
I
to
mean, it's a
admit.
cool looking building too.
that's
Just well,
Yeah.
and that's what's so cool. Like with OSR, same kind of,
Mm-hmm.
and what we do, the one here in Missouri has that. They
Oh,
very
Missouri State.
they're very looming
They
buildings.
are.
And it's kind of cool. So yeah,
They are. And of
Uh,
course, Waverly Hills, in Louisville, Kentucky. Um, that's an amazing building. And I'm just about 45 minutes away from the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, Tala.
see, and I
So,
want to do that one.
Yeah,
yeah.
same.
So that's
That'd be
that
great.
is that's a pricey one, and I'll tell you what, when I used to rent that building out, it was $5,000 for one night
Woo!
wow.
is what I paid.
Oh my god.
So that is an expensive one.
Yeah,
I
because
think it's
and
like
how
a
much is
hundred.
one of your Scotland tours?
Let's see.
True.
I think if you're a couple, I want to say it's like 3,100.
Yeah, see,
Yeah,
And that's
one
for
night or 10
12 days
nights.
10
Yeah,
or whatever.
days.
Or whatever. Well, yeah, I
Yeah,
know.
10 days.
10
yeah.
days.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, they're the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum is the largest stone-cut building in America. It's got 5 miles of hallways. It's got 971 patient rooms. It's massive. Second
Yeah.
largest
You
building in the world.
get your steps
Behind
in
the
there.
You do get your steps in, and that's just the main medical building. That's not
Yeah.
counting the forensics building or any other place. So, my aunt was a nurse there, and Perry, my husband, his mom was a nurse there. Both girls, fresh out of nursing school. If you can even imagine what kind of experiences they had,
Yeah.
as a young nurse going into that facility, because they would put you in there as a patient for various reasons, and the reasons were I hate to say crazy, but the reasons were pretty crazy why they would stick you in there. If you read too many books,
Yeah.
they could put you away. If you were an unwed mother and you were a teenager, they could put you away. If you were a
Yeah.
drunk, you could put away. Post-traumatic stress syndrome, menopause, religious excitement, political excitement. I
Well, I can
mean,
see
getting
menopause.
menopause. You
It
sure you want to take that one on?
sucks.
That
She
really
said,
was the
she said, "You're." I live with
It
one. That's it.
sucks. Ugh.
I'll get in trouble later too.
But I mean, it back in the day when this first opened up in the 1860s, the husband could sign a piece of paper
Yeah, I know.
and the
It's
wife
terrible.
would be committed. And if you had children, the children would go with you. And then at age 16, they would be asked, "Do you want to stay here or do you want to leave?" And a lot of the children chose to stay there because
Didn't
that's
know
all they
anything
had.
else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were clothed, they were fed, they got medication if they needed it, they had a roof over their head. So why would you want to leave? So pretty sad place. I mean,
Yeah.
it's thick. It's thick. You know, you had good doctors, you had bad doctors, you had good nurses, you had bad nurses. You
Yeah.
had, in the
Sure.
early days, you had patients that were put into a room going by the county of where you lived at. So, say everybody that was coming from Calhoun County would be stuck in one room. Dementia,
No, I didn't know
post
that.
Wow.
syndrome,
Wow.
criminally insane.
Holy cow.
All, and this
Wow.
is in the very early days. That's how they categorized you.
Yeah.
So you
It's
can have
insane.
innocent
Well, I
children,
mean,
you know,
no
with
pun intended.
vicious murderers.
That's awful.
That hangs on the
Oh.
atmosphere. It hangs in those rooms. You can feel it. You can feel walking down the
You feel
hall.
it right
The
now.
hall feels perfectly fine, and then
And
you
I
step.
get that because I'm not woo woo at all. I don't have any sensitivity. But like if I go to a battlefield and I don't know if it's just the knowledge of the history that's there, but it just weighs heavy on me. And and I can imagine being in a place like that, knowing the history of a places like that, it'd probably do the same. So pretty wild.
For sure. And Gettysburg's like that too. With the haunted Gettysburg's tours that I did, we'd bus everybody in, we'd get out on the field. I'd have a local psychic join us, and she would walk us around and she would give her impressions. And I mean, there were people that were moved to tears. You know,
Yeah.
even skeptics, they'd stand out there on that battlefield, and we would tell
It did
some
me
cool
too,
stories.
and I'm
Yeah,
like I said, not woo woo, but you're standing there on that battlefield, you're like,
it
wow,
is. It's
that feeling.
Overwhelming.
I had a
Yeah.
deep respect for it because for many years I was a Civil War reenactor.
Oh yeah.
So
Oh,
I
wow.
dressed in the period attire. My husband dressed in a soldier's uniform, that heavy wool. We were Confederates. I was living in Ohio. My kids, little kids, they would dress in their period attire and they had certain toys that they could play with. We had certain food that we could eat. Everything had to be of the era. I couldn't buy any apples from the grocery store because they had wax on them. So it could only be field apples that we would eat because not only were we in reenactors, we were living history. We were representing the history of that time. So
Oh no,
our
you ate
tent,
hardtack?
everything. No, I didn't eat a hardtack. I had Lorna Doones all cracked up like
Yeah.
they were hardtack, but no. Hey, man, Clint Eastwood said a man's got to know his limitations. So no hardtack for sure. But if you had beef jerky, it had to be, regular homemade beef jerky because you were representing the 1860s. Your clothes had to be sewn by hand. Your buttons had to be, bone. You couldn't have any plastic or anything like that. It's cool. It was cool getting into that mindset. And then as an investigator years later, I could reflect on that time frame, the tactical movements on the battlefield, the weather conditions that day, what the women were doing. Those poor women at Gettysburg after the battle ended, they were walking up and down trying to help bury these and getting the wounded, and the stench, of a July battle,
Oh
of
yeah.
the horses, the mules. They were burning the animals on the field. these ladies covered their little handkerchiefs in lavender and lilac oil and put them to their nose and walked around on the battlefield
I tell you, people
because
were hard back then, man. That's stuff that they
Tough.
dealt
but
with.
but
Yeah.
the point I'm getting at with that smell, the lilac and the lavender perfume that they would use, there are many times when people are walking the field and they get a scent of that flowery perfume
Oh wow, yeah,
and
very
they're looking
specific.
like right, and there's nothing blooming on the field, and that's one of those times when the atmosphere's right, the person there is just right, the energy is right, and you get that little glimpse into the past. So not only is it being touched or hearing things, but it's also smelling campfire smoke or pipe smoke, smelling that perfume. Ah, I just love Gettysburg.
So
Yeah,
it sounds like
it,
you have
Sorry,
experiences. No, it
I
sounds like
rambled.
sounds like you had a
No.
lot of experiences as you were doing some of that as well.
Hmm.
Correct?
Hmm.
And wherever you go, do you have experiences?
Yes. Well, not everywhere I go, but when you wear that period attire and you're on a battlefield, whether it's Antietam or Fredericksburg or wherever you're at, I think you're a bit of a trigger object
Mhm.
because here you are in that attire, here that your kids are in that attire of the era. Um, some of the musicians that would come, my reenactor friends, we would be singing period songs. Lorena, the Battle Hymn of the Republic, Dixie. I mean, all of these songs we would be singing. And what better way to honor the spirit that is there and to attract the spirits there?
Good point.
What better way to do that? You get right into that era, and I get goosebumps just thinking about it. It's kind of cool.
That is pretty cool.
It's neat.
need a drum corps,
Man. I'm
but
ready to go to
no,
all these places. I mean,
Same.
God.
I got
but see, I
carried
like
away. Sorry, I just get in that moment.
no,
No.
no,
Oh
no, I
no.
love it.
No, it's
That
perfect.
but that's what I like. I like a lot of paranormal people just need to be old, and they want to go investigate it. And I'm like, I mean, I want to know the why it
Same.
would be haunted,
Right.
and
It's
Yeah.
so
the
going to places
foundation.
like that makes more sense to me. That's why I like doing hospitals, probably because I'm a medic, but I enjoy that, and just because I know what day-to-day life is like in a hospital, so I enjoy that. Battlefields are hard because it's outside. Outside investigations are rough, and I myself really lacking in ability when I do that, but I do enjoy it. But the only battlefield I've investigated was Prairie Grove, up about an hour north of us, and it's a pretty big battle there here in Arkansas. So it's kind of, but that weight hits you when you're standing there and you're like, reading the story and people are hiding behind stacks of bodies of their comrades so they can hide from the bullet and the cannon fire. I'm like, yeah, that's a different kind of life altogether.
Yeah. You wonder if we would be the nation that we are today if, young people were different back then.
Yeah,
You
they
look
Mhm.
at
were.
people that were 16, 17-year-olds getting married and having babies and, fighting these battles and stuff, or loading up a wagon and heading out west and settling out west and being on the Oregon Trail and being in your 20s and, and having a baby die along the way. You just wonder if
Yeah.
people today, if they would have that fortitude and that gumption and that I'm going to do it, I don't know. I
I
don't
think
know.
some
No,
maybe,
no,
but not all.
no. They get
Not
mad when their
nowadays.
Wi-Fi is down.
Man,
Yeah, I don't think, I mean, there may be some out there that are outdoor lovers and nature lovers and stuff like that. That could possibly maybe, but there's too many kids nowadays in this society that are too
yeah.
spoiled. Too spoiled by
Well,
the
I mean,
Well,
riches that we have and stuff.
we're
I
losing
like
we're
I
losing
like being
track
spoiled.
of well, but we're losing
Mm.
track of some basics to survive. I
Yeah.
mean, I've seen it with having this Airbnb cabin. There's been a few people who do not know how to build a campfire.
Yeah.
Oh
They
my
need
gosh.
help.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
like, what's going to happen in a generation? Nobody, I mean, do you know how to cook food over fire? Do you know how to build a fire? I mean, and they're like, we're not sure how to start one. and they've got a log and a lighter, and they're putting the log up against the bark of this, log that's like this big. And it's like, no, you have to have kindling, you got to have
Yeah.
newspaper, and they're like,
Yeah.
we've never built one before.
Don't you watch Survivor? Don't you know these things?
Oh my gosh. Yeah,
Right.
it's
Right.
sad some days. I
Naked and
mean, I've been
afraid.
teaching my kids, but I've also been in
Naked
the
and afraid.
military, so but
Yes, yes.
a lot of people that have been in the service or that are nature lovers can go out there and show their kids how to do things and show their kids how to tie a
Yeah.
knot or get clean water or,
Yeah, and we don't
stuff like
mind at
that.
all. I mean, we're all about, hey, this is the way you do it. This is the safe way to do it. Make sure you put your fire out. We don't want to start a forest fire. We've got 80,000 acres across the road from us that's completely undeveloped.
That's nice.
So
Oh.
that would
And
be,
Bigfoot lives there, right?
yeah, maybe. Hey, 80,000 acres, rivers,
Yeah.
caves,
Be a good place to hang
animals.
out if you had big feet.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
know it. We would never know it.
No, that's awesome.
No.
So you said that place. You said the prisons here overseas. You said, what is your favorite place?
Uh, well, of course, Edinburgh Castle ranks up there. Um, I've always been intrigued with the witchcraft trials, but what we had here in the States is not compared at all to the witch burning frenzy that happened in Europe. And these women, and most of them had some medical knowledge. Most of them were midwives or knew how to help cure. They were root workers. They knew how to mix herbs, and they could cure somebody that the local doctor could not take care of. So then they
Here
were
it's
looked
doing
at as,
bleeding.
yeah, now there's some competition here. So what do we do? Of course, for her power, because she healed this little boy, she was sleeping with the devil. So she's a witch. So let's
Yeah.
just burn her next Saturday.
Get
But
rid of the
Edinburgh
competition.
Castle, with the hundreds of women were put to death out in front in the Esplanade area there, right out in front of the castle. And you've had kings and queens and princes, walk the hallways. You had people that were shoved out of windows to their death. Oh God, it's just, how can you not walk into some place from 1100 and put your hands on those stones and not feel the importance of that building and
Oh
just
yeah.
just alone? It's amazing, and I'm so blessed to be able to do a tour like that. So yeah, I'd have to say probably Edinburgh Castle is right up there. And Stirling Castle as well. I mean, there's so many castles. When we do our island trip, we go to Lep Castle, which is the title of
Oh,
the most
man.
hotel, or the most
Yeah.
haunted castle in all of Ireland, and some say of all of Europe. But it's a private home, and we are always lucky to go in and visit with the family that owns it, Sean and his wife Anne. And we go in, and I show people the oubliette and the Bloody Chapel and all the fascinating folklore, history, and legends and violence that's
I'm
occurred
pretty
there at Lep.
jealous of those trips. That sounds like a lot of fun. In
Right?
fact,
I would love to
yeah.
go to those
And
trips.
I almost feel like, what? This is the job? This is like no job for me.
Right?
Because I'm a mother hen anyway. I love taking care of people. But I'll tell you what, when you take 45 people into a foreign country, it's a whole different level of taking care of them.
Yeah.
Because
Can't
are they
imagine.
going to go nuts? And the Garda, the police, are they going to get arrested? Is somebody going to get hurt? I mean, we've been to the emergency room twice over there. Once in Belfast for kidney stones for one of the guests. Huh? Who would have thought? Kidney stones and then a concussion in
Oh.
Oh my
Inverness.
gosh.
There are times that people get
Wow.
hurt, and you got to be the one to get in the taxi with them, and they give you a taxi
Uh,
for free over there if you're going to the hospital, and your medical care is free.
somebody I know just went over to Ireland just like last month or month before that. I think it's last month. But she spent basically the whole time that the whole group was in Ireland in a local hospital. So
Oh no.
she got sick,
Bummer.
and
Oh no.
she was there the whole time.
What
I mean,
happened? Was it did she get hurt or did she
no,
she just
she was
ill?
sick. That's I
Oh,
didn't get into what was. I was like,
Oh.
oh, what's wrong with
oh,
you? But but she was talking about the difference between American healthcare and Ireland, and yeah, a little different.
it's something. You know what your medical chart is over there? They give you a piece of paper and you write your name on it. That's your
Yeah,
chart. They don't want to know your birthday. They don't ask allergies. You just take this little piece of paper and you walk it to
because
different people and they
they're like
hand you
we don't
pills that are
care.
like pain and they're like, take these. And we're like, okay.
Hey Sherry,
And
on
That's
your
great.
go ahead.
oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say on your tours that your especially your overseas ones, uh, is it mostly touristy type things? You're sightseeing. You're telling the stories. They're listening. Do you get to do any haunted or investigation type stuff? Is there time
And
for stuff like that?
Do they
it,
investigate?
well, I'll tell you what. I pick the hotels, and most of the hotels that we stay at are allegedly haunted, so
Hmm.
people can investigate in their rooms. When we do Greyfriars Kirkyard in Edinburgh, it's a walk-in tour, and we're in there maybe 20 minutes. So you could slip off to the side with a meter or a digital voice recorder. We've tried the late night investigation thing, and it's extremely difficult because most of the time we are on the bus like at 6 a.m. the next day. And if you're ghost hunting till 1 or 2 at night, um, and you're dealing with jet lag, it gets to be really,
Too.
really tough.
Yeah.
So people are always welcome to wander the streets and step in the cemeteries. And if you're in Edinburgh Castle and you got the room to yourself, pull out your camera, pull out your phone, and you can do some recordings. But no, we don't have any place that we rent anymore to investigate. I did look into renting out Edinburgh Castle, and it's owned by Historic Scotland. And Historic Scotland and we emailed, and I'm like, what would it take to rent it out? And it was going to be the equivalent of $400 per person per night to stay there, which
Yeah,
was a
wow.
lot of money. And they had a lot
Yeah.
of stipulations. And then there were certain areas that we would not be permitted into. We had to list all the equipment that we would be bringing. And I'm just like, no, that $400 a person.
Too steep. Yeah.
Too many restrictions, and yeah,
Yeah,
just a
I
lot
didn't
of
think
hassle.
it would be good. So I always encourage people. I'm like, hey, stuff happens during the day, stuff happens in the
Okay.
evening. It doesn't have
Sure.
to be midnight, you know.
Yeah, I did
Well,
So
we're
that.
at the end of the hour. This went so fast, as so
Yeah.
much, and we on a little tangent. So before we send you back to the back room for a second, give plug yourself, how to get a hold of you, how to uh, all your information.
well, I am on Facebook. I've got 9 different Facebook pages. I also have a website, hauntedhistory.net, that people can find me at. I've got a podcast called Haunted History with Sherri Brake. I'm on Instagram. So that pretty much once they get to that website, they can click on anything at hauntedhistory.net. They can find out about tours, upcoming events, presentations, and all that good stuff. So I appreciate you guys having me on. Thank you.
Oh no, it's
Oh,
good.
Great.
no,
No,
This
it was great. I enjoyed the
awesome.
conversation. It's fantastic. Yeah, see, and see if you would have watched this show, you'd have said, "Hey, that was pretty good."
Yeah, Ken's kind of, I don't know about that Ken guy though. I don't know.
All right.
Just joking.
I'm
The
going to send
Ken
you to the back
guy.
room. We're going to talk for a minute, but don't go away because we're going to talk to you again. Okay.
All right.
So
Thanks, guys.
hang out.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks for coming on. Who do we got next week? What do we got? Who's
We
up
have
next week?
Amanda
Where are we?
Quill from Cold Spotters next week.
Amanda Cold Spotters. There's
Mm-hmm.
nowhere around here because there's nothing cold around here at all.
Not right now.
Hot. It's hot.
It is very,
Yeah.
very hot. So, I mean, it wasn't that hot today. It was in the 80s today, but the humidity made it in the upper
Hot.
90s.
I don't like it.
So it's still
I
too
get
hot for
moist.
me. I like
I
the
don't
60s
like
and
it.
70s.
Yeah, when your humidity
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
higher than the temperature, it's like that's
It's
miserable.
Yeah.
terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So next week, Amanda Quill from Cold Spotters will be talking to us,
Yep.
or we'll be talking to her, or
We'll be
whatever.
talking to
I'm
her.
assuming it's a her
Yeah.
with Amanda.
Or
I don't want to
they'll be
assume
talking to
nothing.
us. Something like that. I mean, they're gonna be
Bye,
talking.
folks.
Bye,
Good
They're
y'all.
talking.
night.
Bye, guys. Have a great week.